and welcome back to another episode of the Employed to Boss podcast. I am your host, Haley Hayhurst. If you haven't already, I would love it if you could subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And I would also love it if you could leave me a review. They make my day, and I want more people to find the podcast. We're almost at a year. I think we're 10 weeks away. And so it's been such a fun time, and I would just love it to see what type of reviews you all leave me. So today, my guest is Keyera Patrick. She is a mindset coach for female entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business to the next level. Whether they are just starting out, like I was when I started working with her, or if you're taking your business from 4 to 5 figures, Keyera is the one to help you. So a little backstory. When I moved to Seattle and started my business back in 2020, I had no idea how to actually start a business. I was trying to balance out podcast production as well as being a virtual assistant, and the business side and the pricing side was really all confusing to me. So I connected with Keyera on Facebook, and she offered me a free coaching session or something like that. It was so long ago, but she pushed me so much, and I talk about this all in the episode, but before I was working with her, I was working really long hours and was trying to figure out how to actually balance it all. And I just thought that's what entrepreneurs did. But now, 2.5 years into business, I definitely know that is not true. But I'm so thankful that the universe led me to Keyera because she really did help me set my business up for success. So if you're looking for clarity in your business, I really recommend working with Keyera if you're looking for a mindset coach. So all of this information is in the show notes. She's running a 90-day to change challenge. And for anyone who really needs to push themselves, I think this would be incredible. So let's get right into this episode with mindset coach Keyera Patrick. Keyera, hello. Welcome to the podcast. I am so stoked to be talking to you today.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So for those of you who don't know the story of how my business started, Keyera was actually the first coach that I had that I invested in, and it was so scary, but Keyera made the world of difference in my business, and I would not have changed a thing. So with going into this interview, I just want to say I'm so thankful for you.
Oh, no. Well, thank you. I'm thankful for you showing up and being willing to do the work. We did a lot of work.
We really did. Yeah. If you want to start off by introducing yourself and kind of telling us about your business, would love to hear about that.
Okay, so my name is Keyera, and I am a mindset coach, and I currently reside in Kansas, and I've been coaching for 3 years. I have 3 kiddos that are 11, 8, and 7. And so I stay pretty busy with kid things, and then also love growing my mindset and learning all the new things. There's so much to always learn. So I'm really excited to be here doing this podcast.
Yeah. So when we first connected, I think it was in some Facebook group, and you were offering a free mindset session or something like that. And you were just empowering me to do all of these things as a new entrepreneur. And honestly, I had never been pushed like that before in any way. Like when I started my business, everyone was like, oh, cool. You got this, you got this. And it was just whatever I did was whatever I did. But then after talking to you, you were like, aim higher. You can do these big things. And it was just, I've never had even thought like that. And so it was just so refreshing, but also terrifying. And I loved it.
Yes, it was shoot for the stars and be willing to trust yourself. And I think we really worked hard on being able to trust what it is that we're offering value-wise. And sometimes when you're creating new results, it can be hard to see that. So we worked on creating that vision, really working on the mindset around a lot of the thoughts that have been holding you back. Because I think you wanted to do 2 different things at that point, right? So you're being a VA, a podcast manager, and weren't you also talking about going into the Peace Corps?
I was, before I started my business. And then when I started my
Yeah.
business, I was like, oh, this is not going to be my dream anymore. So yeah, I was still doing VA work, but also wanting to stick only to podcasting.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that time and you grew super fast.
Yeah.
Like your business like took off really fast.
Yeah. And
I
it was
think that,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, when we did that free call, I feel like a lot of people don't realize what's available to them until you're talking with somebody outside of maybe your friends or your family, or maybe even another entrepreneur because they can get so focused in on what they're doing. And so
Hmm.
when you talk with somebody, a coach who is just talking about you and your business, that's when it gives your brain time to explore what's possible. And I think that's what we did, was paint a picture.
Absolutely. So for anyone listening who wants to expand their mind and realize like more is possible, what mindset advice do you have for them?
Okay, so number one, I think surrounding yourself, which is a very classic one, surrounding yourself with people that dream big and go out and do big things. One thing that's really changed for me in my life, even just in the past few months, are the people who I have been intentional with connecting with. So for one, for instance, is one of my coaches right now, Esperanza. I intentionally messaged her on Instagram and connected with her and built a relationship with her. And now I'm in her program. And she has created so many things in her life that I want to create. And so intentionally putting myself around people that are aligned with the things I want to see, my places I want to see myself go, not only provides a guide, but it also will show me things I wasn't even seeing. Like she's done these like multiple things, and I've never even thought about doing these things. And I think that goes right back to you, Haley, what you were saying was it hasn't even like presented itself in your brain yet.
Yeah.
When
Like
you
has
were
not been
talking,
unlocked.
you hadn't even thought about it. And that's the cool thing about nowadays, is that we have internet and technology and a way to connect with people, and not everybody is going to respond, but engaging, being on their Instagram stories, reading what they're actually saying, watching. Even I went in and watched all her past highlights and really seeing the story and the story that she was living and saying, oh, this is somebody I really want to align with right now because they are where I am at. I mean, they're not where I'm at, but they're where I want to be at.
Right. Absolutely. How did you get into being a mindset coach? Like, what was your journey before? And then I know you've invested into your business a lot with your own coaches. So I want to hear about that process too.
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to work online somehow. I was not sure how that was going to present itself. I've owned my own cleaning business for several years before that. And in 2019, I realized that online was a place I needed to be. And I read a book it's a fictional book called Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. And it totally has nothing to do with entrepreneurship, but it has to do with mindset. And it all clicked. It was, we all think very differently about things, and realizing that we all create results based off those thoughts. And that's what the book was the mindset of several characters. And I realized I want to help people create thoughts that help them create the results they want to have, instead of just reliving the thoughts that we just normally have.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. It's really awesome. And so, what was kind of your first step after reading that book and realizing, like, oh, I want to go and be a mindset coach?
I actually went and got certified as a life coach. It was a 56-hour program. So I did that. I got coached by another coach, Janelle Laura, on some things. And then I went out and started offering free coaching calls. And I logged like so many hours. I did about 60 free coaching calls in a period of like 3 months. 1 month was like a huge chunk of them. And I just poured myself into it. And I did the hard work, like the same way that I built my cleaning business. I took what I already knew and I applied that to my coaching business. But it was really, really fun. And I always appreciate that time in my life because it was stepping into being a totally different person than I'd ever been.
Yeah.
And then the exciting part is then I found Stacey Bayman on podcasts. And that is the coach that I hired, and I started creating money. But I found her through podcasts. So podcast is very powerful.
Do you want to start growing your business rapidly in a really fun way? Do you want to increase your visibility and profits? I have just the thing for you. My course, Great Guesting, How to Grow Your Business Through Being a Podcast Guest, is now available, and it's guaranteed to get you on podcasts. Do you want to connect with more clients, share your story, make stronger connections, and grow your audience? But do you find that you're second guessing yourself, are indecisive on a topic because you're into so many things, and thinking, is this even possible? You'll love this step-by-step guide on how to be a podcast guest. We go over 6 lessons that are knowing your story, narrowing down the topic, finding podcasts to be on, setting up your audio, preparing to record, and of course, marketing, because that's what I'm all about. Being a guest can be fun, but if you don't have a plan to go with it, you're really just spending the hour talking. You're not moving your business forward, and that's exactly what this course is designed to teach you. You can find this course on my website at Espresso Podcast Production, and I guarantee you that you will be a guest on podcasts in no time. Yeah, definitely. Because then you can just connect with them and actually know if you want to work with someone. I think the energy that they put off, you can see or hear a lot better in podcasting than just in an Instagram post.
Yes, that is so true. And the cool thing, there is a saying that says something like the teacher will show up when the student's ready. Well, I never had heard of her. And she showed up on my Instagram and my podcast on both of them, as an ad. And on Facebook.
She's everywhere.
Everywhere at that point. And I joined and I was listening to her podcast, and it was an opportunity to step into a totally new self-concept.
That's awesome. Yeah, isn't it crazy how things like that just all work out? It's awesome.
Yeah. My parents went out of town for 2 weeks, and I binged her podcast for 2 weeks straight. And my parents were like, you have changed. I was like, yeah, I've been in deep. I've been in there listening to her.
Surrounding yourself with positivity and actually being able to do it. I love that.
Yeah. It's like binging Netflix series, only that was binging a podcast episodes.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool about podcasts.
It really is. So when we first started working together, I had nothing really set up in my business yet. This was right when I started. So one of the things that I really want to talk about today that you helped me a ton with was actually pricing my services and pricing what I was doing for each person, creating custom packages, and just knowing my worth when it came to these things. In any corporate 9-to-5 job, which is where most people are coming from before entrepreneurship, they're told how much their time is worth, or they're told how much the company has a budget for. But when it's your own company, you have to figure out all these different things like taxes and making enough money to live and saving and all of these things that does not come very easy to people. So I know you've had some big mindset breaks recently with pricing and all of that. So I'd love it if you could share your knowledge there.
Yeah, so that was one thing that we did spend quite a bit of time on, was looking at what we wanted our pricing to look like and how you wanted to spend your time. And one of the breakthroughs I was just telling you about recently is that we sometimes can get used to a certain pay grade or a certain income per year, and we can get stuck, and it can be really hard to create, XYZ in your income line, in the result line, because we teach from the model. So if you put the income you want to create in the result line, then you got to go and think thoughts that are going to support that. But if you don't believe that that's going to happen, you don't believe that you make that much money, then it's not going to happen. And so we worked on stepping into being the person who creates that amount of value. We did a lot of mindset work around that. So most recently, though, my breakthrough is that I can choose how much money I want to make, and I can literally believe that. And it all has to do with your belief. Because if you don't believe it and you're not sold on it, then it's not going to happen. You have to identify what it is that is holding you back. And that's what I most recently identified, like I was telling you earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the examples that you just told me was like not, so when we are working for companies, we're used to making like a certain amount of money. And when there's really no ceiling and no floor of what we can make, we really are just like in this zone of, oh, what is a lot of money? What am I worthy of? Like, is making $100 an hour a lot, or is that normal? Or is charging $10,000 for a coaching package normal, or is that like absurd? And so really, like, how do you work through those mindset barriers?
So that is one thing that I am currently working through, and it is looking at what is it that I bring to the table. And you can put, let's say you have an offer and you are looking at it hourly. We had broken down what it would actually look like after taxes and all of those things. But really, it's going to have to come from stepping into a higher self concept and be able to say, I charge this amount of money for these services, and really being locked in on being the person who I always say, give extra value, go above and beyond, but also knowing what we had talked about were like blocks that could be in the way, subconscious thoughts that could be there that are slowing you down, but working through those and being able to create the value at that level. Honestly, I've come to the point to where anytime that you're saying, I just can't do this, you need to write out why you just can't do this. But then you need to also go in and write out what would it look like if you could do it, getting it all on paper.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, it sounds weird to say it like this, but like sometimes we have to trick ourselves into actually like believing things where you have to actually believe it, even if it's not true yet. So like, what are some tips and advice that you have for people who are maybe trying to overcome some mindset blocks that they're currently having?
Well, number one would be, I would always say, working with a coach that can work with you one-on-one to identify what those thoughts are. Number two, I have been reading quite a few books, and one of them was doing an exercise. And it's basically you use your fingers. This is by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And you would touch your thumb to your pinky finger, touch your thumb to your pointer finger, thumb to your other finger, and then to your middle finger. And you do it a few times, and then you close your eyes and you just mentally do it. And your body will still want to do the actions. And when you are able to see of something you want to do, like a vision board, and then you close your eyes and you think in your brain, this is what I'm creating, your brain will start changing and it will start helping you step into that higher self concept in order to create those results.
I love that. I love visualization. That's something I've been getting into a lot more recently. And that's really cool. Like seeing it, but then actually like doing it too.
Yeah, physically seeing a picture of what it is that you want to do and surrounding yourself. So I made a wallpaper for my cell phone on Canva, and then I saved it. And then also my cover photo for my phone, the lock screen, I put my goal there. So that way, whenever I go to tap on my phone to unlock it, I see my goal. Whenever I'm scrolling on my phone to get over through the apps to a different page, I can see my different goals.
I like that a
So
lot.
visually getting it in front of your face.
Yeah.
Like visual, closing your eyes, believing that you can do it, and then also writing out why you think you can't do it, but then also coming in and offering the thought, what if I could?
Mm-hmm.
What would I need to, what would I need to create? Who would I need to be? Who would need to help me? That's a huge one in order to create this new result in my R line, in my results line.
Yeah. Could you go into the who would need to help me a little bit more? I'm so bad at asking for help, but I know that's one of the other things that we talked about.
So there's an awesome book that anybody listening can check out. It's called Who versus How. And it talks about who needs to help you, not necessarily who do I need to be, but who can help me the most instead of how am I going to do this? Because a lot of times we can't necessarily answer all those questions ourselves. And if we do, it could take a whole lot longer than if we find the who that can help us. So for podcasting, obviously you are the who. You can help somebody with a podcast and help them get so much further reach than they would by themselves.
Right.
And not everybody has tons of time to sit around and create a Facebook, create a web page, create a podcast, go out and find clients and all of these things. Keep the house, take care of kids if you have kids. Not everybody has all the time to do that. And if you don't, that is when you start taking big advantage of who can help me. So for me, I hired a house cleaner to help me keep up with my house because I want to spend my time working on other things.
That's really smart. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to check out that book because I think that's such like an eye-opening way to look at it. Like you can be the expert, but you don't have to do everything by yourself. Like you can always get help through coaches, through assistants, whatever it may be. I like that.
Yeah. And even with the podcasting, I feel like we are so like blessed. We have such an ability to quantum leap with the amount of information that you can find online. So like on podcasting, the School of Success, that is a huge one with Lewis Howell. I think that's how you say his last name. He's amazing. Stacey Bayman, having access to that information, that's a who. Who do I need to be around the most? Who do I need to hire? So I hired her because she showed me, this is how you create this result. And she can help you get there faster. And so really leaning into the who is how people quantum leap as well.
Absolutely. Well, you've shared so much value in this episode. In our last couple minutes, I like to end every episode off this way with the guest. So you sharing 3 actionable steps that the audience can start with today to actually move forward in starting their business or switching their mindset. What 3 things do you want to challenge the audience to do today?
Okay, so number 1, there's an exercise that Navy SEALs are trained to do, and that is if there is something going on, they are to ask, what can you control right now? And I want the listeners, if you have mindset blocks, if you have thoughts that are not supporting you, if you're AKA not talking nice to yourself, or you're telling yourself you can't, or I'm too nervous, or any of these things, I want you to go in and start seeing what thoughts that don't serve me can I control. And by control, I mean, we're not going to let them dictate the day. We're going to get things done. We're going to prioritize what it needs to be done, right? So going in and identifying those and controlling those thoughts, because we can command our thoughts to listen, and we don't have to stay in negative cycles. So that's 1. 2, I would say start writing down who it is that you want to be and the thoughts that support that person. Who do you want to be? And take time to actually write it down. There's proof that like 50% more results happen when you write down your goals. So don't write down necessarily just your goals. Go over and write down, who do I want to be and what does that look like? And 3, I would say go listen to the Who Not How book. That would be a good one to end with.
I love those. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And like I said before, honestly, if I didn't work with you, I think my growth in my business would not have been as quick as it was. So Thank you so much for all of your help.
No, thanks for having me on. This was fun.
It was. Where can people find you and connect with you? And if they're looking for a mindset coach, where can they find that information?
Okay, so right now you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is my name. So it's Keyera Patrick. It's Keyera, and then Patrick, Patrick. And right now, if somebody is going to work with a mindset coach and wants to work with me after checking out my content, just reach out, send me a message. I have the 90 Days to Change program going on right now, which is 90 days of stepping into your highest self and creating a new result and overcoming, negative subconscious thoughts that are slowing you down. Or just reach out, because I'm always happy to chat. I love meeting new people and connecting. So always feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, I'll put all of those in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Haley.
All right, talk soon. Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.